all the honorable members, and I want to repeat,
A powerful majority is on the rise with a particular vision for Kenya.
They have violated our constitution, and we want that to change.
Reject finance bill! Reject!
They recently briefly seized control of parliament and set part of it ablaze.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm here to address you.
By now, we have nothing to lose.
They are saying no to bad leadership.
I concede, and therefore I will not sign, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn.
And the lie persists, Mr. Speaker.
It was a revolution that was first ignored by those in power.
Some of the photos that we were seeing out of the streets,
They thought it could not happen,
that they do not belong to this country.
but it did happen here in Kenya.
I am a photo expert, Mr. Speaker.
This is the Gen Z revolution.
He's the only one who can bring clinker. He's the only one who can do cement.
Nairobi City is known for being the administrative and political center of Kenya.
while the president has the mind of his own, it is this house that dictates.
Whatever happens in the capital greatly affects the East African nation.
How can we face such a crisis, Mr. Speaker? Up to this particular point, I don't know what the Inspector General thinks. I don't know what is the challenge.
We gave you the entry. We are going to show you the exit. Mr. President! Mr. President! Watch us!
June 2024. A bold and new generation of young Kenyan protesters emerge on the streets of Nairobi.
Reject that! Reject!
They are mostly young men and women willing to die for good governance.
His team or his administration has had this sense of being very arrogant.
What started as anger on TikTok and X and other social media platforms morphed into a revolt.
The question is, if the president or if the members of parliament decided that they are not going to debate this finance bill, from today onwards, are the youths, are the people on the streets going to stop? Are they going? Will they go home? I don't think so. I think the finance bill is just a trigger of our population and people who are very angry and continue to be very angry. One, because of even the lies.
This is Shakira Wafula.
Finally,
Nice
Shakira herself.
Ndio mimi.
Parliament,
Tutafika. Na tulifika.
She's a fitness coach.
I do personal training, some group classes for gym, but I'm also currently pursuing a degree in exercise and sports science.
And this is Joshua Okaya, the president of the Kenya School of Law Students' Council.
My name is Joshua Okaya. I am a lawyer.
They were among thousands of people who were on the streets of major cities and towns in Kenya. They are against the government's efforts to increase taxes to help pay Kenya's huge foreign debt.
The finance bill of 2024. What was in it that made Kenyans angry?
You know, if you look at the finance bill, and I think what hit us the most was the fact that the finance bill was adding a 16% tax on bread.
Bread, mukate.
Yeah, something that was initially was zero rated. Bread, mukate ni kitu. Mukate is just like a representation of the normal food, common food that a common mwananchi.
It's a rebellion not led by politicians and with no identifiable leaders who can easily be isolated, intimidated, bribed, or co-opted.
Our movement was and is amorphous, all right? You don't know where it comes from. You don't know where it originates. Really, that was the design. And what I can say is that all the Gen Zs was leaders. Everyone was a leader in their own capacity.
So there was no one who was like a figurehead in this mobilization?
Yes, and that's why you see the term leaderless, faceless, tribeless coming up. Because I think that's also confusing for the current politicians, because they're used to, if something comes up, there's somebody specific behind it.
Not just specific, but Raila Odinga.
Exactly. And in fact, Raila, if you check at this time, I think he only spoke once when this young lady referred to him on video, and he said he's a proud father. And that's all he said. So for us, it came from a point of rage, from a point of being tired, from a point of knowledge that as a country we are capable of so much more. But these people in politics have like laid a fence hindering us from moving on to the next level as a country.
Generally, it's misrepresentation. It's leaders forgetting why they were voted in. It's the rampant corruption. It's the fact that people are passing bills that they have no clue what they entail. They are not reading these documents. They are just basically following party leadership and party direction. So it was a reminder to leadership as to what they're supposed to be doing in that house and to respect the power of the people.
So what do you want? If someone asks
change.
you, what do you want?
A change. Government to change. They need to change their behavior. They need to have accountability. We need leaders of integrity. Those who have cases against them to drop off. Offices that are unconstitutional to be removed. For them to follow court orders. There are so many things that they have done that they have violated our constitution. And we want that to change. It's a disgrace that it has continued for this long.
Issues of people in public offices displaying lavish lifestyles. And of course, they are just giving those, funny statements before our own eyes and telling us how expensive their watches are, their belts, their shirts and everything, and telling us how they go to expensive dates and expensive tours abroad. So it was a whole, compilation of vices that resulted to now going to the streets to agitate for economic liberation.
The public display of wealth and opulence, unless members of the public can quickly see where you've gotten it, they will not be happy.
We want to reject the wastefulness of the members of parliament who do not represent us, the illegality of the offices that have been put up in place and they are not constitutional.
Which offices are you talking about?
I'm talking about one that I take personally offensive is the wives of the president, of the vice president, of the prime cabinet secretary, of which that office is not even constitutional in the first place. And I believe when Kenyans were putting these people in place, we only had pictures of them and not their spouses. And if anything, these spouses are not even working towards anything, towards the betterment of Kenyans.
And we have seen even the price or the amount going toward luxurious cars almost tripling. Spouses can do things. They have every right to contribute to society, but they can fundraise on their own. They can form their own foundation and fundraise on their own. They do not have to use taxpayers' monies to be able to want to give back to society. That they are not the ones that we elected. We elected their spouses, not them.
It is organized through the public square of contemporary youth communication and engagement, social media that cannot be easily manipulated. These protesters, who feel Kenyans are already overtaxed with little to show for it, brave tear gas lobbed by police to march through the capital Nairobi, bringing the city's central district to a standstill. Mary Mawako says the Gen Zs are not just mere protesters, they are also content producers and distributors.
The organizing was very much online in terms of messaging members of parliament. I know one who said he got up to 20,000 messages, and he had to travel. He had to actually travel to Embu and see, is this a bot being used to text me with different numbers, so it looks like a lot of people. And he said he went to each and every single ward in his constituency, and he would just randomly talk to people and ask them about their finance bill. And he said he could not find a single yes. And that's what just made him, travel back to Nairobi, and that's how he voted no.
Every part of their intense confrontations with police officers is captured and live streamed on their smartphones.
We are not going anywhere. We are rejecting the finance bill. Parliament should Africa.
Something seen as a game changer as far as mobilization was concerned.
The fence I was holding on to is the fence of Cardinal Otunga Plaza. So it's that street just before the last roundabout you get to Parliament. So to be honest, at that specific point in time, I was taking a breather. I was tired, I was exhausted, I had outrun my energy that day. I was barely breathing because of the tear gas and everything. So I decided to take a rest at the fence. And I think that is what triggered me most, because at that particular point, I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't inciting anyone. I wasn't picketing. I was just taking a rest. And this bunch of police came towards me and they wanted to harass me. In fact, one held a baton over me and the other one was moving towards carrying me so that they can take me away from that position. I think my emotions overtook me and I found myself in that position.
Do you remember the exact words you said? Do you remember?
I don't actually remember from that point. I remember from watching and rewatching the video, because a lot of people have sent it to me, a lot of people have tagged me, and yes, I said I'm here for my people, I'm here for your rights, because as in we wanted to reject the finance bill.
Now Kasema, Parliament
tutafika.
Occupy Parliament and reject Finance Bill 2024 hashtags are used to rally protesters. The youthful demonstrators showed up in huge numbers, vowing to ensure that their discontent did not end with just a hashtag or meme.
I am very proud of our young people. They have stepped forward tribeless. They have stepped forward peaceful. And I want to tell them, we are going to engage them.
Then why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why?
More than 200 young protesters are arrested and detained on the first day of protests. Despite having no visible leader, these protests have attracted the attention of everyone. Advocates working on pro bono are eager to have some of them released from police custody. But what is so unique about the first day of protests is that there was no looting, destruction of property, and stone throwing, as is usually the case. Several hours after demonstrators had been mobilized, the presidency would appear to bow to the pressure. Scrapping some of the bill's most contentious provisions, including a proposed 16% value-added tax on bread. Other proposed taxes to be removed include ones on cooking oil, mobile money services, and on motor vehicles, which critics say will have hit the insurance industry. The government had earlier defended the tax hikes, which had been projected to raise $2.7 billion.
It shall not be possible to deliver services, to build roads, to build schools without generating revenue for the country, Honorable Speaker. We cannot be a country that lives on debt, Honorable Speaker.
President Ruto said it needed to cut reliance on external borrowing.
When this administration came to power about 2 years ago, our fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP was at 6.7%. We were projected to borrow 1.1 trillion shillings, Honorable Speaker, in the first year of this administration. That today, Honorable Speaker, with the budget that this House adopted 2 or 3 weeks ago, has gone down from 6.7 to 3.4%. That is on account of sound economic policies. It is on account of doing what is right rather than what is popular.
I now propose the question that Clause 12 be amended as proposed.
At this point in time, MPs are now debating the revised bill and are expected to vote on it the following Tuesday.
As of that opinion, say aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Amending the bill was not enough.
We are rejecting it, every clause. We are not asking for any amendment. We are asking for them to reject it.
Everything, withdraw it. The money that you uses to travel, ajipange, ametuharibia economy.
Day 2, Thursday, 20th June 2024. The young protesters are back again, a little more agitated. Their cries and demands have been ignored by the government. Instead, those in power have been mocking them, some legislators even calling them idlers.
As you say, one of the people that we saw came out loudly was a Baringo woman representative.
Yeah.
She said that Gen Zs were idlers. And that is why you had all the time on the streets. From where you sit, how true was it? And those statements, what impact did they have on the protest that followed?
You know, when someone says you are an idler, it basically means you have nothing to do. You have no work to do. And it's true, we don't have work. And that is one of the reasons why we are going to the streets. We actually like to tell them that we don't have work. We are idle. All right?
Many people are unemployed.
Many people are unemployed. If they could employ all of us as we speak, and our employers decide that everyone has to come to work, no one will go to the streets. These are some of the problems you're facing. Unemployment. They're saying it as a joke, thinking that, you know, they're gonna get favor from the older generation, that we are just idle.
he had two things to do. Number one, start a new Kenya. The way he was saying, start a new Kenya. Anything that was done by Akina Uhuru, Akina Kibaki, Akina Moi, you did not need to have a script that looks like them. You needed a new script for Kenya. Honesty. Corruption must go completely, because God is very angry on corruption. Very. This thing of just taking money, you know, take and you wonder, did you just do this with this money? And why is it just bomokering in one day? And we just move on. You say maintenance will come. That one needed to have gone.
It was a testing day for how the protesters can maintain pressure on legislators and the government to drop the bill. The battle between the police and protesters intensifies. The police are becoming more brutal. The number of arrests and abductions is also increasing. But those on the streets are unrelenting.
How can Ruto recover?
I think he needs to listen to the people. That's the only way. He needs to calm down. You see the way people are telling him what? Ashuke. He needs to shuka. But for me, I think, is he the kind of person who's going to listen to anyone? Someone said that he advises his advisors on what to advise him about, you know, something like that. I don't know what it will take for him to listen to the people, because that is the only thing he needs to do, you know, listen to the people, and for once, you know, just decide that he is actually a servant of the people. If he does that, then things can change, but I'm not sure that he's ready and willing to do that.
How do you impose VAT and increase the cost of all those things?
It is unfortunate.
At this time, lawmakers are debating proposals to bring in new taxes.
Have gone through.
The anger of mainly youthful protesters is slowly turning into rage, and majorly focused on the government of President William Ruto, which they accuse of failing to fulfill their campaign pledges.
A lot of times people will look for government services. What government service have I been provided for? And the first thing people will look at, especially young people, is healthcare, because this is childbearing age. Most people in hospitals today, if you were to walk in, is going to be childbearing mothers or children. But a lot of the public hospitals that we have are still lacking even medication and the most basic of facilities. So in complete agreement, because when we're paying all this tax, you want to be able to feel a sense of security that it's going to get back to me. We're not seeing that in the public.
But it is the killing of Rex Masai by the police that changed the face of protest.
I will die for justice! Freedom!
In the cat and mouse game between the protesters and the police that evening, this police officer in civilian clothes is captured in a mobile phone camera video firing live bullets at this crowd that was running away. Uniformed police officers were chasing them, lobbing tear gas canisters in their direction. But it was a bullet fired by this police officer that hit 29-year-old Rex Masai in the upper middle part of his left thigh.
They had the sound of a what? Tear gas. So looking behind, they saw people running. So they had to run. So the friend ran in front. Rex was left behind. So on looking behind, he saw Rex limping. He tried to come back, but a policeman threw another canister. So he first ran for his life, then went to somewhere where he could see Rex. So on seeing Rex seated somewhere and bleeding furiously, he had to come out.
According to his parents, Rex Masai had found himself in the midst of protests after leaving work that fateful evening.
It was so brutal. Whoever gave an order for shoot to kill, I bet maybe he's not a father or who ordered shoot to kill somebody with no weapon. That was not a father.
Rex would bleed to death with the police standing nearby, refusing to attend to him even as he battled for his life.
He went to a policeman who was just standing somewhere. He asked the policeman, please help me, this is my friend. We take him to a facility where he can get first aid. The only thing he got, the answer he got, mwacha kufe huko. That was the response the policeman gave him. So he was bitter, he went to Rex. So he begged for sympathizers to help him carry Rex. Someone, I don't know, there are some boys, like 3 boys. They dragged Rex, they crossed that road to a nearby facility by the name Bliss. On arrival at the facility, he was pronounced dead.
Even I have a footage of the cop who shot my kid. He has not been apprehended. And he did it again the other day, shooting live bullets again.
It's the same guy?
The same guy.
The one wearing blue?
Yeah. He did it again. I think one of the maybe bloggers, and he was shooting direct to journalists like you.
Tear gas, direct in the faces.
Bullet, gun.
I saw the one.
Not bullet.
I saw the one with
it was
tear
this,
gas direct.
not tear gas. Gun. To the media, direct. And when
and actually, according to the reports out there now, is that it's not the first time that he's doing so. He has been doing
the fucking idiot is free, walking, eating. Those kind of things make me very bitter. The guy's not everywhere. He's been posted everywhere with the family, and he has not been apprehended. Ajai shikwa. Tuambiwa ameshikwa.
Anger had reached fever pitch. Tuesday, 25th June 2024, the day of rage. They came from all corners of the capital city. It was the second week of protest, and hundreds of thousands had taken to the streets of Nairobi and several other cities and towns. An online leaderless youth movement had gathered momentum. They had one rallying call: Occupy Parliament. In the history of the country, have we ever seen what we saw in the last 2 weeks?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've not slept for the last 2 weeks. It's been difficult to sleep because we're in a state that we have never crossed. It's completely uncharted. A lot of countries, even something like that to happen at parliament, they actually break into civil war. There's countries that become unstable because of people rising.
And you know me, I like sitting behind. Then it's a very interesting place because you are able to see everything, what is happening. Very well, right to the last seat behind. So I'm seated there and I can hear firimbi. And I'm like, you know, in parliament you don't hear that firimbi.
Even if people are demonstrating.
Yeah, outside. You'll hear, yes, when they are closer. So it means they are just around the buildings. So I'm like, hey.
On this day, parliamentarians were voting on the controversial Finance Bill 2024, which they wanted dropped. If passed, it will only require the signature of President William Ruto to become law. They wanted that stopped at all cost.
But forward, they have had to...
But legislators from the ruling coalition were having none of that.
That clause 60 be amended as proposed.
Put the question.
I now put the question that clause 60 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
They had expressed instructions from State House to pass the bill despite intensifying protests.
So in the morning we said, okay, we shall put on our masks and just watch. We ended up doing that, so they were able to go close by close in terms of the amendments. When they say, all we were saying is reject the bill.
William Ruto had become one of Kenya's most loved presidents on the international stage, but back at home, his popularity was dropping like flies. The cost of living had become unbearable for many. The rate of unemployment is skyrocketing, and corruption in government is second nature to breathing. Kenyans are furious.
And then we must have some sense of asking ourselves, because it is something that is absolutely not in our mind, that when you hear the country pushing, what is Parliament supposed to do? We have learned our lessons. It's not about the executive. Parliament needed to have just burst the balloon.
The bill is passed in Parliament despite the demonstrations that had attracted much bigger numbers. Now,
yes, 195, no, 106, spoiled 3.
The ayes have it.
The charged protesters would become even more enraged.
Then my former staff calls me and says, Mama Dago, sisi tumesha maliziwa, mujue wamnefika na ni wengi. Yani vijana tu wameamua ni wengi. So simfanye tu mtoke kwa hiyo bunge. Siwe utoke.
They start charging towards parliament buildings. To try and stop them, police officers opened fire on the crowd that had massed around parliament. Some were felt in front of cameras. One of them, Erickson Chalo Mutisia. Others included Ibrahim Kamau.
Muhammad Rasulullah. Muhammad Rasulullah.
No, this was actually an extrajudicial killing. He was unarmed, he was just protesting for his rights, and he was murdered by the police. So we had to bury him and say goodbye to him. His life was cut very short as a very young man who had a great future, only 19 years old, and was murdered by the state.
Despite police cruelty, they march on, breaking into the parliament compound. In a 2-hour assault, protesters smash windows and eventually make their way into the chambers in unprecedented scenes, leaving parts of parliament badly damaged.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go. Kwapa na hatuendi. Kwapa tunalala huku na hatuendi. We don't fear you guys. You hypocrites. We don't fear you. Mr. Speaker, we don't fear you. Tuko ndani. We stomped inside.
Some even set part of the main building on fire.
But we were praying also that everyone just goes home to their families. And the most sad part, Enoch, is that I don't know whether all of us are thinking that way. But you imagine in the 13th Parliament goes down to history. A parliament that was burnt. A parliament that young people died in. Their brains were just sprayed in the corridors of parliament and everything. A parliament that we have no plan in terms of when you have a disaster, fire. We've never done a drill. People don't know exits. I'm hoping those are lessons.
Later in the evening, the president calls the storming of parliament an act of treason conducted by criminals.
It is not in order or even conceivable that criminals pretending to be peaceful protesters can rain terror against the people, their elected representatives, and the institutions established under our Constitution, and expect to go scot-free. We must isolate crime from democratic expression and separate criminals from people exercising the freedom of expression and divergent opinion.
But having thought it through during the night and with pressure increasing than reducing, the president changed tune.
And following the passage of the bill, the country witnessed widespread expression of dissatisfaction with the bill as passed, regrettably resulting in the loss of life, destruction of property, and desecration of constitutional institutions. I concede, and therefore I will not sign as
the
a
Gen
country.
Zs had forced the most powerful man in the land to
the
reject
people of Kenya
and withdraw the finance bill.
Because we have gotten rid of the Finance Bill 2024, it is necessary for us to have a conversation as a nation going forward. How do we manage the affairs of the country together? How do we manage our debt situation together? How do we work on the budget with the deficits that now exist together?
But the aftermath of the storming of parliament will see the military deployed on the streets, several people abducted, with some to be later found dead. My name is Enoch Sikolia, and I am the Kenyan historian.